Hi folks, Tacitus Today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the latest, gender hustle vector of activism that it's been around, but it's kind of being amped up recently, where it's the political power gender gap. And using the trusted format of outcomes exactly equal between the genders in political positions, exactly equal, not close or exact. And if they're not exactly equal, you know what the cause is? It's the fucking Nazi, fucking fascist, fucking patriarchy. That's the cause. And we got to break it up. And we got to get Hitler. So let's have a little look at this, because it's as with all this race gender hustling stuff, it's annoying in the extreme, and no one cares about facts, and everyone throws around ideology with much passionate fanaticism. But so the claim is that in Australia, at least, that only about a third of politicians are women, and this is seen as why is this so? Why is it not equal? Well, we all know why. It's the fucking misogynistic fucking patriarchy, holding women down, holding them back, oppressing them, those evil Nazis. So something that evil has to be stopped. And unless outcomes are equal, then we know that it is incredible evil is everywhere. And so by making sure women have exactly equal representation to men in political positions, then we are fighting evil and stopping evil. It is therefore good. What the fuck else would it be? Now, having been, less so today, I suppose, but having been politically active and going around to have, whenever I see these things that women are being held back and not allowed to go into political positions, are women participating in the political scene as much as men? And is their representation in political positions roughly equivalent to their participation at, if you like, the grassroots political level, attending branch meetings of the political parties and so on? And this is really the issue here, participation. Now, you hear on, say, the employment side of things, there aren't enough women engineers, or there aren't enough women, chief executives and things like that. There aren't enough women scientists and computer programmer coders and so on. So the difference in the numbers there is according to the ideological activists, that's proof that there must be something terribly wrong. Maybe just women are choosing not to do that. Now, having been or still involved in business, but having been a CEO of a public company, and an EVP and all this sort of thing, then I got to see that the amount of women who apply for executive level jobs is very small. Any job that is going to be measured by performance, and where you have someone saying you failed at this, you didn't do this, anything that has an objective meritorious measurement, women don't go near it. They run away from it at 100 miles an hour. They do not like being objectively measured and tested and graded. Women hate that. And so now, again, there are exceptions, but even in areas where there's one company I was at where I was a VP, and the CEO decided he wanted to have there were more women in the sales team, and there were in this particular office there were 20 salespeople, and so they decided they were going to hire, I think it was four women, and they really struggled to get people with the experience and the knowledge and so on. So they ended up putting women in there just as a window dressing exercise, and without really getting qualified people. The problem with this, in my view at the time, was they were turning away qualified men just to bring the women in, who weren't qualified solely for the purposes of virtue signaling, window dressing, and that was, what I had. I saw that as a real problem. Sure, if you want to bring qualified women in that are just as qualified as the men, then, well, hey, why not? Who cares? If they're qualified and they're going to do a good job, why should anybody worry? But that was never the objective. The objective wasn't to do the job just as well. The objective was simply to virtue signal, window dress. And that comes at a cost to the company and the business and the shareholders and so on. And they seem strangely prepared to take that hit, whereas they would fixate over wastage with the number of paper clips and things like that. So they had a very sort of odd way of looking at things. But interestingly, the CEO had gone and done an MBA at Harvard and came back with all these weird notions about fucking equal outcomes and so on. So anyhow, they hired the women as salespeople, and when the sales manager was off on leave, then I was the sales manager's boss. So I ended up sort of being drawn into the sales things, like doing, territory review meetings and performance review evaluations. I got then drawn into that. Well, so that's when I came in direct contact with these women, and I was surprised at how they went. They were terrified of being measured, terrified of it. They wanted to have a personal relationship with you, so that you would then judge them or measure them or grade them or evaluate them based on the intimacy and the quality of the relationship, rather than the performance. They just hated the performance. Have a relationship or have an ideology, but don't look at my performance was their thing. No, I sort of, so I said, no, I remember being at one meeting. I said, no, we're going to look at, like everyone here, every sales representative here, or business development person here, we're going to look at what is your budget, and what are your results as against the budget. So everyone's going to be treated that way. But they would come back with weird things like, oh, I know you hate me because I'm a woman. Oh, I know you hate me because no one hates anybody. You're being measured the same as everyone else. Oh yeah, but you don't think women should be in these jobs. And they would come up with all these sorts of, prickly, chip on shoulder, childish sort of things that they wanted. They wanted special treatments and special exemption. And if they didn't get the special exemption, this is from performance measurement, then there must be something terribly wrong and amiss. But it was just their way of deflecting from measurement. But I wouldn't have any. No, you're going to be measured. Now, and I know one of them just got up and quit right there. No, I'm not going to be measured. I'm not going to be graded. I'm not going to be tested or anything like that. And she just got up and left. That's it. Just walked out the door. She was so terrified of being measured. And we'd only just sat down. So I said, I don't want to be measured and I don't want to be tested. Well, I said, well, too bad. You're going to be measured and tested just like everyone else here against budget. Just got up straight and walked out. But none of them wanted to be, well, I shouldn't say no. One of them actually had done pretty good, really, in the overall scheme of things. And so she would have, she was fine. I don't recall having any problem. But the other three just didn't cut it. You'd have to cut them a lot of slack to let them stay. And the male sales representatives would quite justifiably and quite reasonably say, well, hey, hold on a minute. I'm busting my ass to make my budget. She's only making 50% of budget. How come she's still employed? Or why are you cutting her so much? So they would have been justified in putting that forward. Anyway, the one female sales rep that was doing okay. I mean, wasn't the best. I mean, she'd have been still at the lower end of the pack, but good enough to keep her job. And not long after the sales manager left or whatever happened there, we got a new guy in who was pretty rigorous. No, you have to produce the results. And she left and she came to see me, and the CEO said, see if you can get her to stay. I want to have more women on the thing. So I was given the job of taking her out to lunch. boozy lunch, begging her to stay on just simply for the window dressing aspect. And it didn't work out well. She'd already taken another job and already committed to it and so on. So it kind of didn't really work. And then she tries to hit on me in the lunch, for fuck's sake. But she was of the same view. Her attitude was, look, this new sales manager guy, he's only concerned about results. I don't think he likes me. He doesn't like me. He's not going to judge me favorably. He's not going to cut me the sort of slack that I want someone to cut. I need someone who's going to indulge me if I'm to feel comfortable. I don't want to live with the uncertainty of having to meet a result. Otherwise, I'll lose my job. I don't want that. And this is very much the woman's thing. Coming back to the political thing, now I've been around to, the complaint is that women are 52% of the population. Why don't they have 52% of political positions? The reason is the patriarchy, misogyny, Hitler, Nazi, da. So, and again, a very ideological take on things. But if you go to around the branch meetings, the local electorate area branch meetings of the various main political parties, you'll find very few women there. Now, this is the entry point. If you want to be politically active, you join a political party, you attend the branch meetings, which are, I don't know, varies, once a week, once a fortnight, whatever. You attend the branch meetings and you get up and speak about the policies you think are important and so on. And then you can get voted by the local membership into representing them at an election. And then you stand for public office, could be in a local, regional, federal, whatever capacity. And then if you get elected to Parliament, you then represent your electorate. So the starting point is that you sign up as a member and then participate in the meetings. So without that, you're not going to go the rest of the way. So going to one meeting there, 95% of the people in the meeting were men, 5% of them were women, and half of those women were just wives of the guys who were active in the political party, the women just coming along as wives and some of them sat there knitting and texting, and for goodness, they weren't participating at all. So somewhere between 2 and 3% of the people turning up at and I've been around to have a look, were women. So if you look at women's participation in the political process, again, at this branch, the grassroots, if you will, the grassroots level, which is where the whole thing begins, look at that, 2 or 3%. So, and yet women represent a third of the electorate, a third of the representatives, political representatives. So they're being incredibly overrepresented relative to participation. Now, if women were participating at 52% and not getting representation that was broadly in line with that participation, then you'd say, well, maybe there is a problem to look at, but that's not what's happening. Women have a very small participation rate at the grassroots, and we're talking, there's arguments of, women that have children have to stay at home. No, far fewer women have children now, so there's not a heavy representation of younger single women or women with no children. And if that was the children was the issue, then you'd have single women or married women with no children, or maybe where the husband's at home and he looks after the child, where the woman goes out. And if you're politically active and you really want to get out there in the grassroots, you find a way, you become, you make the time and you make the effort, and that's just simply not happening when it comes to women. Men do make the time and make the effort, whether it be single men or married men or men with children and so on. So the participation rate is low. So what's happening is women are being directly approached by political party machines, all straight white males, by political party machines or by trade union hacks and goons, and they're being approached to say, well, we want you to stand for election. We'll select a safe electoral district for you, so you can easily win it. You don't have to work hard. You don't have to campaign your ass off. And then we'll gift you. It's affirmative action on steroids. We will gift you a political position in the parliament. Now, the next complaint that the female activists have to say, well, okay, we've got a third of women in parliament, but only half of those women have senior political positions where they wield power and they have control, this sort of thing. Well, that but yet again, they're heavily overrepresented. If you look at the amount of men in parliament, then 15% of men have political power. So women are again overrepresented due to affirmative action in that sense. So women are being mollycoddled, gifted affirmative action gigs, not only at just the entry level of political representation in parliament, but also in terms like cabinet positions, ministerial positions, and so on. Now, this sort of is borne out by all activities. In 1.5–2% of applicants for executive or scientific positions are women, and yet they represent 20% of the employees in that area. So again, we're looking at heavy doses of affirmative action and gifting jobs without merit to women who in no way could make a cut in the real world or would be prepared to put the time into it. Now, there's a woman was given a job as a minister in the government. I ended up having a chat to her at a dinner, and she was sort of sitting a couple down from me. So I waited till the dinner was over and the people started to move around. So I wanted to talk to her. I said, well, how did you get into it? And she just said the people from the party machine came to me and said, we want you to stand. And she didn't know anything about it. She'd never been to a political party meeting in her life, had no particular intent, but they wooed her by saying, look, we'll make sure you win. The outcome isn't uncertain. You don't have to chew your nails or wring your hands with the stress of it all. We'll give you a district where we can guarantee you'll win. We'll provide all the resources. We'll provide all the campaign managers. We'll do everything. All you have to do is read the speeches we give you, and we'll even give you speech making training so you can sound formidable in front of the crowd and that sort of stuff. And then we'll shoehorn you into parliament, and then we'll give you some junior ministerial jobs so you'll be well paid, and so on and so forth. So that was how she was approached, and so she tries to paint it now that she was a natural genius and she did it all herself. But the reality is quite different, and that's how women are being affirmative action shoehorned into parliament and given senior political positions, not because of their participation. Now, it's slightly different with some of the extreme left parties. For example, if you go to a meeting of, say, the Greens party in an area, well, like in the area that I live in here, and hardly anybody will turn up, and you'll get a few angry old lesbians. That'll be it. Now, if you go to an area that's super, like an inner city electorate that's got a very heavy gay lesbian population, then you'll see a much bigger turnout. But there's maybe only 2 or 3 electoral districts in the country that have a big turnout for the Greens. And there you will see a heavy representation again of gay lesbian. And that is reflected in the party makeup of those who get elected into the, say, the federal or even the state parliaments, I guess. Certainly in local councils, they seem to carry quite a lot of weight. But nonetheless, the amount of people involved, there's a higher representation in the parliaments than there are the grassroots level of involvement, and that's something that needs to be understood. But looking at the whole thing, it's all a race, gender, or agenda in this case, hustle. The women's participation rate at all these levels where there's big complaints about non-equal outcomes, the participation rate is very low compared to men. So their actual participation rate in politics, they should have no more than at the absolute maximum. Women should have no more than 5% of the political positions if it was based on their participation in the process. But they're getting rewarded by affirmative action well beyond that. So if anything, women are being given a very, very privileged an easy run into the political system that they haven't earned by their participation. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.